Welcome to hell. There is no escape. There is no escape. You are in my control now. Welcome to hell.
Welcome to hell, everybody. Welcome, Team Doom, to another episode of Let's Talk About Horror, where your nightmares and dreams collide. And I am back, and if you are not following me on the social medias, follow me. Your boy is on Instagram, Walter Doom, Twitter, Walter Doom 1, and Walter Doom on everything else that's involved streaming. And let me give a big shout out to all my collaborators that delivered music to me. Let's give it up to Kelly the Wolf. Make sure to follow him. Let's give it up for Algorithm C. Find those beats. Let's give it up to him, and let's give a huge shout out to you guys, the audience, for coming over here, listening to me each week. I'm greatly appreciative of everything you guys do. Let's keep it up, Team Doom. You guys are the MVPs of this and what makes this podcast happen. All right. So last episode, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, it is about me talking about the movie Awake, and oh my God, you guys, it is such a crazy movie to be watching. I mean, if you guys haven't listened to that episode yet, you guys are about to lose your fucking mind, because this movie made me lose my fucking mind when I was watching it. So, for this week's episode, as you guys are probably wondering, you're like, what are we getting into, Doom? Well, I'll tell you, audience, what we're getting into. As you guys know, we are winding down to the last weeks of Pride Week. So, I wanted to do another Pride episode. So as y'all know, last year I did a Pride episode about the Mark Patton Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, and talked about just Pride in general and everything dealing with that actor, and just like all his trials and tribulations during the 80s with being like a closeted gay man. And I also talked about, I believed I talked about some movies that I watched before, but if I didn't, then I'm probably just forgetting that shit. But anyway, as you guys probably know right now, because you guys probably saw the title, I got a special guest with me. He is a podcast creator. He is a horror blerd. Let's give it up for Mark Estes, man. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, good, man. I had to get you on the episode because, man, we've been trading off messages in Instagram and everything, man. Forever. I was like, man, somehow I gotta get this dude on the podcast, man, because we be talking about just like all types of different movies, just having like one crazy ass conversation after another, man.
Yeah, and the most recent craziness we've been talking about is those, I don't know, they're making Disney characters out of horror.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
And I'm like already sick of it. I'm like, okay, y'all, this was cute for the first couple of times, though, but y'all got Freddy Krueger looking like, Disney prince over here. And, we know he's not a Disney prince. So.
Oh, no, he is the Prince of Darkness.
Exactly.
Oh, man. But yeah, Mark does a podcast of his own. It's called the Midnight Social Distortion, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta say, you're doing some good things over there, man.
Man, I do appreciate it. It was a long time in the making. It was a long time coming. A lot of people was like, you need to do your own podcast. And I would be like, yeah, I do need to do my own podcast. But I'm trying to figure out when I'm gonna have time to do said podcast. So I just one day woke up and was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy a mic. That's the only thing I was lacking was a mic. So I bought a nice little mic, and here we are.
Yep. All right, man. So can you introduce yourself real quick? Can you tell the audience who you are, your social medias, where to follow you also?
Okay, my name is Mark O. Estes. I am the creator of Midnight Social Distortion. I am on Twitter. The handle there is the Anti-Critic, and on Instagram I have two profiles. One, Marco Estes, all one word, and also Midnight Social Distortion. The Marco Estes profile is private. If you want to add me on there, send a DM, tell me who you are, because I do have like a long list of like spam bots trying to get into my account,
Oh
and
man,
it's
tell
a
me about
mess.
it.
And if you want to follow me over at Midnight Social Distortion, you just can click and add. It's a public account. I also wrote an article for the Counter Narrative Project called "A Quick History of Black Queer Horror Characters." That
Mm-hmm.
was pretty popular, and I'm working on doing a quick future of Black queer horror characters, like a follow up. I don't know if I'm gonna do that as a blog post. I'm gonna do it as a podcast, but it's in the works. And I also had a blog, Midnight Social Distortion. It's on the link. It's in my Twitter account. And mostly there, I did a lot of Black horror survivor posts to let people know that even though it's a stereotype for us as Black people to get killed off first in the movie, that we actually did survive several movies. I made it a challenge for
Mm-hmm.
myself, one Black History Month, to be like, instead of giving 28 Black horror survivors, give 28 Black female horror survivors, and 28 Black male horror survivors. And I managed to do that, and there's still a lot that I did not end up having to post because I ran out of months. But that doesn't mean that you might be somebody out there that I don't know about, and there might be some people that you don't know about. But I
Mm-hmm.
just want to tell people that LL Cool J is not the only Black person to survive a horror movie.
Yo, I get tired of everybody always saying like LL Cool
Yes.
J is the only one. It's like, oh my God, LL Cool J, he's the only one that survived. It's like, no, nigga, no, he
No.
didn't. Shut up.
No. Shut up. Exactly. That shows your horror knowledge. You're like, don't do that. And then I'm like, I mean, even in recent years, we had Carla, who's played by Brandy, and I Still Know What You Did Last summer.
Oh
We
yeah,
had,
yeah.
as far back as like the 70s. I mean, hell, the blaxploitation movies are like Blackula and
Mm-hmm.
um what was the other one? JD's Revenge and stuff like that. It's like a lot of those movies, like you gotta count those people as Black horror survivors as well. I mean, come on
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Oh man. Well, since we're talking about horror right now, as we always do at this time, what began your interest in talking about horror or just horror movies in general? What was your genuine interest?
Oh man, I'm an 80s baby. So my mom decided she wanted to bed train me. Her and my dad decided they wanted to bed train me, but she stayed at home and decided to rent A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now I'm 3 years old. And my mom has a weird sense of humor when it comes to horror. Like when people start changing or stuff starts going wrong, stuff like that, she starts laughing. She doesn't scream or hide. She starts laughing her ass off.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and as a kid, you're drawn to your mom's laughter. And so I'm in the
Yeah.
bed, being bed trained for the first night, and my mom's laughing. So I go into the living room and she's watching the scene when on Nightmare on Elm Street when Freddy is stalking Tina in the alleyway and he does
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
infamous
yeah.
this is God, because I just
Yeah,
saw a man with
this
these long
is God.
hands. And when Tina bolted, I bolted screaming back to my room. And my mom was like, baby, it's not true. It's not real. It's not real. And so after that, my cousin was a big horror aficionado. And he would terrorize me as a kid, but it was more along
Oh,
like
you got
looking.
terrorized too as a kid?
Yes, I mean, they would drag me to, because every Friday night our parents all gather up and they would have like these parties and stuff like that, but all the kids would go in the back. So before they did that, my cousin would go rent like a shit ton of horror movies.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't pay no attention to it, because one day I went with them to go pick up the said movies, and I was like 5 or 6, and they walked straight up to the counter and I got lost and walked into the horror section. So you seen all these horror video cassettes looking at you, all these demons and monsters and killers. And I actually screamed in the middle of the store. And they was like, this motherfucker again. I was like, cause they was like, you embarrassed us. I'm like, I mean, I didn't know it was like, I'm a kid. I'm not used to seeing all this stuff. So, and then Freddy's Nightmares would come on, and they wouldn't tell me what's coming on because Freddy Krueger was my huge fear. And so when Freddy Nightmares come on, they're like, hey, Mark, look at the TV screen. And so the little doom, 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 that he'll jump to the TV. I'm like, I sat in the hallway. So it was there. And then I got to the point where The Lost Boys and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was on all the time. And I would sit there, my face would be covered up. And at each viewing, it would go, my hand would go down, down, down to the point where it was like, I love this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Then my parents were like, they went from worrying about like, oh, Tori and my cousin's names are Tori and Draper. They were like, Tori and Draper going to terrorize the hell out of our kid to the point where like, do we need to get an exorcist because he's actually watching horror movies by himself right now? Like they would come in, like people would come in, they'd be like, when you're growing up and Cinemax, what was called Cinemax After Dark or Skinemax or something like that.
Oh yeah. I already know about the Skinemax days.
Yeah, so they would walk into the bedroom and it would either be me watching that or watching horror movies. And my dad got to the point where he would prefer that I was watching Skinemax because he did not care about horror movies to this day, and he hated it. But I became a big horror fan because it was my way to cope with a lot of my fears growing up as a kid in a small country town.
Okay. Yeah. See, I got tortured as a kid also. My older sister tortured me with Chucky. It's
my God.
Insane. And it's crazy. I don't know. I think for me, because I was about maybe like 4 or 5 when I discovered this fear of Chucky. So I think for me, because I played with a lot of toys, it was kind of scary to see a toy kind of come to life and want to kill somebody,
Yes.
So it was crazy because my fear was so deep for Chucky. It was like if I even saw a toy that was even remotely looking like Chucky, it would scare the hell out of me.
Did you have a My Buddy?
No, I didn't. But those commercials, when they came on, I could not take those commercials. And what was messed up is that my older sister, she would play with the jingle too, because because I know you remember the jingle. It used to go, my buddy, my buddy. Yeah,
my buddy and me. I had a My Buddy. My sister had a kid sister, and they bought those toys, those dolls for us the year Child's Play came out.
Yeah,
and I remember like you sitting there watching Child's Play, and my mom looking at My Buddy doll, and she looked at my deck. I had the black one. I had the one with the curly hair and everything, the black hair.
Okay.
So my mom was like, my dad's name is Mark as well. She was like, Mark, I don't know, we made a good decision buying that doll. I'm like, he was like, you let that scare you? She said, but my nickname is Boo Boo. She's like, well, Boo Boo always talking to his toys. And you know how Andy was talking to Chucky and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, always like creating, but she thought I was talking to them. But in actuality, I was creating voices for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because she actually was like, stop talking to him. I'm like, what the hell are they saying back to you? I'm like, so yeah, I understand how you get scared from toys and stuff like that, especially with Child's Play, because I was toy down as a kid. Like, give me my toys, my books, and my horror movies, and I'm fine.
Yeah. Yep. I think for me, when I finally faced my fear of Chucky, I was in middle school. I'm not even gonna lie. I was in middle school. That's how deep this fear was for me. I was like, nah, fam, I can't do this doll, man. Nah.
You remember what Chucky movie was out at the time?
Well, what got over my fear was literally the most hilarious Chucky movie, which was fucking Bride of Chucky.
Okay.
That's where the fear went away. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at destroyed Chucky, with the stitchings in his face and everything and all that. And I'm sitting here looking at this dude like, this dude is actually funny.
Yes.
So that fear quickly kind of went away. And then slowly but surely, I managed to start watching the Child's Play movies.
Right.
Because that's where like the fear was really coming from, So for me, it was like, okay, let me actually attack the fear at its core. I'm going to watch Child's Play.
Right.
So I would say like I was still in the 7th grade when this was happening.
Okay.
So when I finally watched Child's Play, I was like, I'm not scared of this doll anymore. This is
Right.
just a stupid doll. Like, and he's actually funny.
Right. So let me ask you this. Now, if somebody, let's say if you was in your room, in your house by yourself, and you come into your room and there's a Chucky doll sitting there, will you jump?
If it was like today,
Yeah.
oh no, I'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll be fine.
Because I follow the same mantra you did with Freddy Krueger. Actually, Freddy's Dead was the one that made me actually want to go back and watch the rest of them, and I'd be totally terrified of him. But I started studying Freddy Krueger, the movies and stuff like that, and the whole lore behind Elm Street and, you know, all that. But, and I actually have a poster that's like right here, but let somebody put a damn Freddy Krueger poster somewhere that's not supposed to be it. If I come around the corner, I see it, I would still jump to this day. But it'll be like, oh shit, oh Freddy, you know, like people don't like that, because back then it would be like me seeing a spider, I started swinging like cartwheel swinging and shit like they're ready to fight and stuff like that. Like, you know, fight and flight and stuff. But I'm getting better at it, because I mean I have a whole damn shelf of Freddy figures like overlooking me right now. So, but back then I was like, yeah, as long as he stays on the TV screen, we're good. As long as he stays in the magazine, we're good, you know. But I know somebody would come in like a Halloween, like you be trick-or-treating and you go around the corner and I'm in like a little homemade Dracula costume or something like that. And I come around the corner, somebody's got a full-on Freddy garb on. I'm like, ah! And they're like, I got the little brat. I got the brat right there. Yeah. I'm like, man, don't do that. Don't do that. But nah, I'm good with it now. My nieces right now are the ones I'm like, I got a niece right now that's terrified of Pennywise.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But that makes sense though. Honestly, it's funny that I wasn't afraid of Pennywise as a kid. But then again, I really didn't hear Pennywise to maybe like I was like in high school, but I just only knew him as it, you know, because I didn't see the movies. You know, I only just saw the DVD or the VHS in like Blockbusters, and I was just like, oh, this movie looks like it could be scary as hell. Not knowing that it's literally like an ABC TV show that's not really as scary, you know? Right. But I was always interested in seeing that movie. And when I did see the movie, I was an adult when I saw the movie. Okay. But as an adult, I was still like, you know what? This isn't a bad film, you know? Right. Long, but not bad, you know? Right.
And it's crazy for it being that long after that. It's like, because I'm not gonna lie, when I watched as a kid, it was moments that terrified me, you know, especially when his teeth come out and stuff.
Oh yeah, but
looking back at it now, and you're looking at the recent adaptations of it by Andy Masciuti, I think I butchered his name though, but It and It Chapter 2, it seems to me that those were, I mean, because they took it an extra level, because you didn't actually see the kids get ate up in the original movie. You just saw them
you
noticed, but you knew they were dead. But it's like, but in this one right here, they're like, nah, we fucking these kids up. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was like, yeah, damn, because I remember going to the theater to see It. And I think this is what scared my niece, because my sister's, I love her to death, but she made me mad when she told me she actually let the child watch It when Georgie got killed and he got his arm ripped off.
Oh my God. Georgie got fucked all the way up.
Dude, I was in the theater like, they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna go, but they set the tone for the movie, because when he sat there and his arm was bleeding, I was there like, oh shit. And then, like, my cousin was like, I thought you saw it. I said, dude, I saw the original. They didn't do that. This dude is bleeding. He's like, he has the arm. And I'm like, oh my God. And then in the second one, he bit the girl's face. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm like, my niece saw that. And so my funny story, my mom bought a pair of, you know, the socks. They got It, you know, Pennywise socks. And so my mom was like, oh, Mark might love these. So she bought me some for my birthday. My niece was with her. And my mom saw the socks. She's like, oh, she threw them in the basket. My niece, she's looked down. No, he can't wear Pennywise socks. He can't wear Pennywise socks. My mom was like, Man, these are some damn socks. Chill the fuck out. And then my niece was like, no, he can't wear them. And so I would come up with the Pennywise shirt on, and she was like, why you have to wear that Pennywise shirt? Like, you know I don't like Pennywise. And I'm like, well, honey, nobody told you to watch Pennywise. So I have to deal with her now. So it's like what you call it, the circle of life.
Yeah.
Circle of horror life, you know. So
yeah. Eventually she'll get over it. She'll probably start loving horror too. That's usually how it starts.
That's usually how it starts. Right. So when you would tell me how you was nervous on like Chucky and stuff like that, I said maybe she'll come to her senses and realize that, you know, I'm going to make her love horror. She's gonna love
it. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your inspiration for creating Midnight Social Distortion?
It started off as pushback to that damn meme with LL Cool J, because every year during either Black History Month or during Halloween, somebody would put that meme out on Facebook. Let's give it up for LL Cool J to be the first man to survive a horror movie. I'm like, and then somebody else would put a similar meme, like let's give it up to Ice Cube for surviving a horror movie and be the only Black person to do so. And I'm like, so I just sat there and did a whole list. I did like the ones that we know. Kincaid, Yvonne, Roger from Night of the Demons, you know, Brandy from
I Still Know.
I still know. And then I would do like LL Cool J and Ice Cube, and I did all the ones that was pretty more prominent to us, but then I started going deeper and deeper and saying like, it's a shit ton of horror survivors. And y'all are not, I can tell what horror movies y'all watch and what ones y'all, if y'all really watch horror like that.
Which and usually the case they don't.
Right. And that's how Midnight Social Distortion got started. And then in their research, because at first I thought I was like, especially in my community, because I was raised up as being like, Black people don't watch horror because we don't survive them. And it was either they don't survive horror movies, or we don't survive horror movies, or we end up getting killed. It's not meant for us. We Black folks don't. If we are in a hard situation, it's not realistic for us to be in a hard situation because we will not venture there. My hometown did not have any of the Black horror authors and Black sci-fi authors. So when I left and went to college, Walter, I thought I was going to be the first Black horror writer. Exactly. You better laugh. You better give me that laugh. Because I was sitting like, everybody was like, oh, you're going to be the first Black Stephen King. I said, I'm going to be the first Mark O. Estes. I'm going to be writing horror. I got to college and picked up a Fangoria magazine and discovered Tanana Radu, Octavia E. Butler, Brandon Massey, Stephen Barnes. And I'm like, where is this shit? Why has this been hidden from me? L.A. Banks, you know, all these authors, Stephen Delaney, Sammy Delaney, excuse me. And I'm like, where have I been? Like, why did some people like? So I felt very upset when I got to college and realized that my life has technically been a lie in some aspects, because I always felt like I was this weirdo because I liked horror. And then my friends were like, dude, like, we don't like horror though, but we know about these authors, we know about these people and stuff like that. I never read any of these books by them, but we know of them. I'm like, so I felt like a dumbass. So
I think the main problem is like just the community within itself. If it's not exposed or championed like some of its artists, you know, it's not gonna be like anything that's well known, you know?
Right.
So it's like we could champion like we gotta do like back in the Harlem Renaissance, you know, how we used to champion people like Langston Hughes, or like James Baldwin, you know. We gotta start championing our writers and just our creators. That way it creates more visibility, because right now for a lot of us, we're like, there's no visibility. We don't exist. We're not in these spaces. This is only a white space, this, that, and the other. But unknowing to us, and thank God we got like platforms like Instagram, YouTube, we're more
Yeah.
visible than ever before,
Right. Right. And this, I mean, I would say 15-year-old me to 21-year-old me would be just in heaven right now if I was like had stuff like this back then, because I didn't know. And so when I did research for Midnight Social Distortion, that's when I discovered like black horror, like true black horror fans. I'm not talking about like, oh, I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, one of them. I know Freddy Krueger. I like Freddy Krueger. No, I'm talking about people who can recite names, plot lines,
Yes, yes.
academic people, black academic horror writers. It was like, oh my God. So I felt like I was leading a trail, but the only thing I ended up doing was finding my tribe. So I went on ahead and just said, okay, let me put this on the back burner for a bit and learn and educate myself on stuff that I thought that I knew. And so that's where Midnight Social Distortion came into play.
All right. As a creator, what does Pride Month mean to you? Since this is our Pride Month episode.
Being Pride, it's this answer changes every time somebody brings it to my attention. Or my answer changes every time this question is brought to my attention. For me, it is being able to exist and be seen for who you are.
Yeah.
From skin tone down to who you love. And just being able to, I don't know, it's a sense of freedom, even though we still trying to technically fight for our freedoms and stuff like that as black men. And as for me as a black queer man, it's just a sense to show people that, we're not going to go down in silence. This is going to be a recurring thing until we get the same equal rights that y'all do. And hell, if we do get the same equal rights that y'all do, we're going to still, champion those who failed before us to get us to where we are right now. It's so many things that Pride means to me. And the recent episode I did of the podcast was I was trying to, because we came out of the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre, and it was kind of like a bittersweet moment from going from that horrendous event to Pride as a black gay man. And I was trying to cope with trying to be prideful in who I am as an individual, and on top of trying to also show respect to those who lost their lives just because of the color of their skin, and on top of it because of who they loved. So it's Pride is just being free. It's being you to the fullest extent.
Yeah. One more question before we go to our break. Do you have any difficulties when it comes to content creating, man?
Yes. Like right now, the episode that I'm getting ready to do, I have to do research for it. And it's about trying to find time to do some extensive research, because there's certain things that you can do. I won't say it's half-ass research. It's just that when you get to a certain point and you read up on their research, and then you might make a conclusion based on the amount of research that you did. And then somebody might come in and be like, oh, well, you didn't factor in X, Y, and Z. And then you like, oh, I didn't know that. I was reading from this point. I'm in this point of this particular book I'm reading, and they're like, oh, if you'd have finished the book, you'd have found it out. It's like, oh, damn. So it's like,
that sounds very gatekeeperish.
It does. And it's just because I always tell people sometimes it's okay to not know everything up front. It's all about the journey of learning it. Because when you get to that level of knowing everything, and then you can't be taught anything new, then it's like, in my mind, it comes to the point where it's like, oh, you just stop living. To me, to live is to learn.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you might, because some people go by the word for word about what they read in college and stuff like that. And I said, when that was a different time. This is a new time. Things are changing. There's new ideas out there to explore, and you got to be open to that. So I always try to make sure that I'm open to new ideas and stuff like that when I explore stuff. But right now, like I call myself when I first launched Midnight Social Distortion, I had 13 topics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Walter, I have not done all 13 of those topics. I
Yeah.
done went off script several times. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
Same
sitting there
here.
thinking, because
I already know, man. I already
as a
know.
horror creator that it's a hard thing to stay on script because your mind might not be. You might have, for instance, I'm a big Freddie Elm Street aficionado. I can do 3 or 4 podcasts on Freddy Krueger alone.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually had this schedule on my list, and then I was like, everybody else talk about Freddy. I'm gonna talk about something different. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I would go find something else to talk about, and then in the middle of when I'm in the middle of doing a show, I would have we get an outline. I would have an outline written out. I would go off that outline and be like, oh damn, I have 5 more topics on this outline to talk about, but since I done already did an hour episode, I think I'm going to end the episode right now. So it's hard as a creator to just be focused. It's hard to come up with content that is not only entertaining but unique in the field of podcasting, especially horror podcasting, and especially as Black horror content creators. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, we're very niche.
We're very niche.
Yeah, because it's like we're Black, and it's like, as we know, already we dealing with that issue of like, oh well, Black people don't do this, Black people don't do that. And I mean, I love the fact that I'm a Black horror lover, creator.
Right.
I love what I do because as a child, man, I felt like a lot of people tried to steer me away from being who I was.
Right.
And it's just
Right.
like, yo, no, like this is who I am. I know what I like. Y'all may say I'm this way or that way, or I'm acting this way and that way, but it's not even like that. It's just me being me, loving the genre that I love,
Right.
And it's like, I get that it's gonna be hard for like us to kind of like, I guess, cross pollinate through like different spectrums of that area. But it's like, to me, I'm like, yo, I'm happy with like, if I have only 5 listeners to me listening to me like every week, fuck it. I'm happy with the 5 listeners as long as like I'm doing my thing and I may inspire somebody and I have some good people that support me and collab with me. I am fine. I'm not too swept up with like being like, oh, I need to get to Logan Paul level or like Jordan Peele level. I don't even know why I said Logan Paul, like out of all people.
I mean, because he's the type of person he's a good example because he's somebody who just like does stuff for likes and stuff like that. And certain people do that. But no, you're right. You're so right. You're so right. That was one of the reasons why I was scared to start the podcast, because I was like, how many views would I get? Like how, and it goes to the same thing for writing. Like people would say, like, if you go into writing to make money, then you're gonna always feel like you're not good enough. But if you go into writing to write stories that you want to see, then your passion will flow. So it's the same thing with horror and like horror podcasting and horror creating and stuff like that. As long as you do it as a passion and people can sense that passion, then you're good to go. And I know a podcast I read an article, not article, I read a post, somebody who has a big podcast right now. And they said they too started off with like 5 people for the first few months and stuff like that. Then they noticed their numbers went up to like 30, 80, 100. And now they got like 100K followers and stuff like that. And they're doing podcasting full time. And it's just all about, when opportunities present themselves, just be ready for them. But at the same time, just be passionate about what you're doing and not try to do it like you said, like gatekeeping, like, well, we don't want to do this person because this person doesn't have this many followers and stuff like that. Just listen to their passion, because I know a lot of people who have a lot of followers who don't have anything outside of a backing from a big platform. And there's people who we both know who probably had to fight to get through all of that to bring Black content creators to the forefront, and that's why I champion like Zena Dixon, Ashley Blackwell, Kenitra, Dr. Kenitra Brooks, people who sat there and broke the mold and brought black horror and black horror content creators to the forefront and just telling their white peers like, yo, if you claim that you're diversified and stuff like that, then you need to keep your ears to the ground for the black horror content creators because they're out there. And not just people that we recommend, but people that you feel have a voice to a unique voice to bring to the table. Because a lot of people tend to follow, like if certain people will follow this person, they'll follow the people that, okay, I gotta check their diversity box. You know, I follow the black horror content creators that everybody says we should follow. But then I also champion those white allies who discover people like me and you on their own accord. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, we're following the crowd and they're listening to us and being like, oh, well, I like y'all. And not only that, it's just because I guess we interact with them, you know what I'm saying? And make them feel, you know, I'm not saying we got to like appease, you know, the white allies. It's just the fact that, you know, there's black people out there who are horror fans who like to interact with the content creators. And when you interact with your fans, then it's like, it really truly feels like a community instead of you getting out and doing this performance thing and then you going back in the closet. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am an introvert to the T, but I can still send a DM to somebody. I can still comment on somebody's post. You know how me and you met. You know, I was like, Walter Doom, he's a black guy who loves horror. Automatic fucking ad, automatic follow. Because I was like, I want to see more of this because there's still a stereotype out there that we don't do horror. So that's why I'm glad stuff like Hard Noir came.
That's what I was about to mention to you. I'm glad that documentary came out. Shudder is definitely the fucking shit for that, you know?
Thank you.
Because I'm like, no one else, everyone had the opportunity to make that. Netflix, how long has Netflix been around? They could have picked that up and really brought people back to their platform for a simple fact that Shudder was like, yo, we're going to pick you guys this documentary up and we are going to share this to the world. I swear to it, that was the only reason why I got a Shudder account was for that movie.
Hey, I understand, man, because I had one, but when they came out with that, I was like, y'all are stepping y'all's pussy up. Excuse me, I would say it like that, but I'm just saying I'm just saying y'all are stepping the game up because nobody's out because they were the home for several horror documentaries for a long time, but they were like, there's other stuff out there and they coming out with a queer version of that too. So it's like y'all are really doing it. And it's really, I mean, but it's stuff like that where you really bring the marginalized voices in this community to the forefront and give them the platform. And then, you know, Shudder's gonna get ready to bring us our first black horror anthology show. Like, come on now. There's been so many ways that could have been brought to I mean, they gave us the Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele, but that was, I mean, they approached him to do that. And then, but Walter, if we keep doing stuff like that, and it's just, you know, like it can stop all this, you know, why it's gotta be just, you know, black horror and Asian horror and Latin horror. It should be a queer horror. It should just be, we're all just horror fans. Fuck that. We have to have that because that's the only way our voices are going to get heard. You know what I'm saying?
So, instead of just being stereotypes in a film that's getting killed off, you know? Right. And on that note, we are going to go ahead and hit our first break. But when we come back, we're going to come back with Mark and talk about some horror movies, man. Are you ready for that conversation?
Always. Let's do it.
All right, man. So like you guys shouldn't stay in a horror movie. I'll be right back. All right, and we are back, you guys, and we are back with Mark. And right now, we are going to talk about a couple of horror movies real quick. Are you down for that, man?
Yeah, you already know.
Yeah. So as a lot of you listeners probably know or probably don't know, there are talks about a new Blackula movie. Now, Mark, you put me on game about this. I didn't even know this was being done. You know,
Man, I was shocked because, like me and you discussed in the comments, we were like, we've been thinking about somebody doing this for like a long ass time, and I was just really thinking nobody's gonna try to make Blackula. It seemed like it was a product of its time, but
yeah,
the
yeah.
premise that they have for the movie to connect it to the first two is
Oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm glad they're not doing a direct remake of the first film. Even though, in my personal opinion, I think they could do a remake that is probably way scarier than the original one, because I do like the original Blackula movie. Don't get
Right,
me wrong. I
right.
do feel like the first Blackula movie is too much of a romance movie, you know? Like,
Okay.
he's a little bit romanticized a bit. And like, the only reason why he's doing all this is because he's trying to get that woman to be, you know, his queen and whatever, or replacement queen of the queen that he lost many years ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like there should be like still kind of like a direct remake, but I do like the fact that they're rebooting it and they're starting off from like where the second one left off, because the second one, that dude was cold. That
Cold.
dude.
Cold.
Oh
Oh
man.
man. He came over and took it. They brought his ass back and he took over that mansion. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when I forget Richard lost his character name, but when he was talking shit, his girlfriend was talking shit, and
Oh
they were
yeah,
saying
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like fuck Blackula. He ain't gonna do that. Blackula came and say, and then Richard lost his character all of a sudden shut up because he knew he was in the wrong. He knew who was king up in that bitch. And his girlfriend kept talking shit, and Blackula shut her up, and it was just like, man, y'all gonna learn, man. He's the king. He's the prince. You know, he's the look. Don't fuck with Prince on Mama Waldy now. He done told y'all what time it was. Like I said, y'all are ghouls. I mean, y'all are vampires, but y'all are ghouls. He can sit there in y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, don't
Oh
do this.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't care. He was like, I would stake you my damn self. You keep talking shit. I was like, get up, get up. Cause she little. How do you say it? She a little loose at the. She's disrespectful. Is what I'm trying to say. She's kind of a little disrespectful. I was like, cause
Mhm.
y'all wouldn't be on that level y'all are at if it wasn't for him. And unless there's some type of thing where you're just as powerful as your sire,
Mhm.
vampire or whatever, but other than that, whatever his name was, Richard Lawson's character in Screen Black on Screen, he knew what time it was. But yeah, we were talking about trying to figure out who would be a good Blackula, and
Oh yeah.
that's the casting possibilities are limitless, but I know a lot of people I talked to about it was like, whoever they get, they hope they're young enough to the point where they can, like, if they want to continue doing sequels, they can do that. But
Yeah.
I'm like you, I would like to see a direct remake. I know some people I'm actually glad that we're getting a continuation, but if they did a direct remake, I'd have been okay with it too, because I feel like they could modernize it. I mean, they're gonna modernize with this new sequel, but
Mhm.
with the remake, they could have modernized the character and he'd have been just as relevant now as he was back in the 70s.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just imagine them remaking that one scene where old girl's in like the photo area, like the green
Yes.
room and all that. And you get you get Blackula just like appeared out of nowhere, you know, fucking CGI,
Man.
some mist and everything, maybe like a little bat or something. He just like, you know, come in like Snoop Dogg and Bones and all that. Like, what up? You know?
Right.
Like, man.
Dude, I'm glad you brought this scene up because that's the one that did it for me. That's the one that scared me. That and the scene with the cab driver vampire when she
Oh
burst out that
yeah,
room. Them two are the
yeah.
scariest scenes because homegirl in the photo room, she sat there to pull back because you didn't know that he was in the house. I think
Oh
you
yeah.
did, but you didn't. she pulled back that curtain. He kind of like floated towards her. I'm like, oh shit! You knew she was good as gone. It was like, oh, she dead. Oh God, she dead. Damn, she gone. Damn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I would definitely enjoy that. Yeah, as far as like actors, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. If they could find somebody that's like young enough to play like several sequels, that would be great, because then that would start off a new venture for like somebody being a continuous like icon, you know?
Right.
You know, just like how like there's a Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, you know, Kane Hodder as Jason, even though technically he didn't come until like the later parts of the franchise, but he's always been reigned supreme as like the Jason, which is like, yeah, it's respectable, you know?
Yeah, he earned it.
Yeah. So I mean, if they could find somebody that they could be like, all right, you know what, we could see us making like 3 to 5 pictures with you, you know, if this franchise doesn't get too stale, you know?
Right.
Because that's what we need. We need like our own icon. We need our next Candyman, you know, and we need actually we need several Candymen, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I agree 100%. Hell, I said to give it to you. I know somebody like, well, you know, I said y'all could do it, because God knows, I was like, you was Candyman and you was Blackula, but just do it for me, bro. But goddamn, sometimes like that's kind of being greedy, and it's like not necessarily, because he can do bad, but I mean he got to show his face for both of them, so it'd be kind of hard to mask him up or something like that, though. But yeah, either Kofi, I forgot how to spell Kofi's last name, but the guy who was in the Doja Cat video and in Queen Sugar, he could play Blackula, and we even thought about Jonathan Majors could probably play Blackula. I mean, he got the, oh God, yeah. Anyway, so
you know what? I'm just thinking about this right now. Who would be the worst choice in Blackula? Because right now, for some reason, I'm thinking like the most funniest thing. What if they cast somebody that's a rapper? What if they cast someone like 50 Cent? Or like, or like Blueface.
That movie would be dead all around. But can you imagine that casting announcement and folks losing their shit on Black Twitter? Like, hell no. I just don't good at goddamn well y'all did not cast 50 Cent as Blackula. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Let me see that be a bit. And they probably they would either reverse the cast or just cancel the movie altogether. I'm like, look. Don't do that to us. Don't have people in the theater getting mad as hell, because you know. But if they had to cast I can't even think of one rapper that could do it. I can't even think of one rapper.
No. Like, not even they get 21 Savage.
Oh my God, dude, it'd be shit in the city. I'm talking about folks be sitting there getting all day. I can see the think pieces being wrote about this shit right now. Like, who is that? Who was in the casting room with this shit? Like, who came up with, who sat there? I'm usually like, yep.
Yo, they'll purposely have a line so he can say a line from one of his songs. They're like, so how many people did you bite? A lot. How many people have you killed? A lot.
A lot. And then you like supposed to walk out the theater like Peter Griffin. Done. Done. I'll be like, this is some bullshit, boy. Oh my God. I can't think of one rapper. Now I can think of a well, they can probably, no, he's too young. I was thinking of Trevor Jackson. He's too young to play the Blackula. Too damn young right now. It has to be somebody in their mid to late 30s or early 40s to do it. And
just as long as they don't do Michael B. Jordan.
See, that name was passed around. That name was passed around, but they said that he doesn't give off like fear. Like he wouldn't.
No, like no. It'll go back to what I was saying. Like the first Blackula movie was like more romanticized. You know, like literally, you'll just be making Black Twilight. That's literally what you'll be doing with Michael B. Jordan. It'll be Black Twilight.
You want to scare the people, but you don't. But you want to have an equal balance of scaring them and also because vampires are sex. But it's like at the same time you want them to scare the shit out of you and not leave you like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go online and find me a black vampire or anything like that. You want to go home and role play with your girl or your guy, be like, bite me in the neck like so and so did in Blackula. You want to be
For
like,
real,
I'm, as you know, I'm gay, but you probably like with your girl at the theater, and she be sitting like, she might get a little turned on, and you be like, oh,
Yep,
you on Nelly over tonight, and you like, okay, let's go down. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I can role play his back. I can role play his back. You know what I'm saying? You want to be having to the point where like you want to stir those feelings in her, but then also have her be a little scared, a little, freaked out. Hell, we sat there saying every seat in the theater needs to be wet when they walk out of the theater after seeing Blackula. But at the same time, be from sweat and from, just being like, oh my God, I don't know what overcame me. I'm just feeling some type of way right now. So you have to have equal balance of that. Of not, the movie's not going to work. So, but you don't want to be completely romanticized to the point where it's like, oh, this is a romance drama with a hard talk. But you don't also want to do kind of like what they did with Vampire in Brooklyn, but not too comedic because that movie was supposed to be like very serious, but they ramped it up because Eddie Murphy was in it. So, but yeah, it has to be somebody that can do both. Get you somebody that can do both.
Low key, I'm kind of thinking of the new Candyman though. Low key, like Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah, he can do it.
I'm thinking like he could probably pull off being Blackula,
He could do it. It's just, would you want him to monopolize all the black horror characters?
No, that's another reason. Yeah, that's another thing.
I'll be okay with it though. I don't give a shit. Like, he got my money, so it's like, I don't care. But, some people be like, let's cast. We got new horror characters. We're gonna have Yahya come in and do it, and be like, yo, Yahya is already Blackula. He's already Candyman. Who else do y'all want to have as? Somebody even said I know.
He can't be like Chadwick Boseman and take like all like the black horror icons and all that, or black horror characters, like how Boseman did like all the, even though I give him props for all the iconic black heroes,
right.
But I still give Boseman his props for playing those characters,
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, if he was still alive, I would sit there and throw my hat in for him, dog. Like, yo,
honestly, he
could do it. He got the skin, he got the bone, the cheekbones and the hair and the height. He could pull it off. It's just like, but damn, we lost it too damn soon.
Oh yeah, it's very tragic that we lost him, but just as long as it's not Michael B.
I don't think he'll do it. If he does do it, I think. I will say this though. If he does it, I will be like, oh, casting, the women in one. It's gonna be Michael B. Jordan. I don't have a problem with that, but it's just the fact that it'll be like, we got Michael B. as Blackula. Like, I'm happy too, though, but at the same time, I'll be like, I wish it was somebody else. Even though I do love him, though. I love the man. But
I mean, the dude's a good actor. And I mean, coming from a straight guy, the guy is toyed, he has a physique that every guy would want to kill for,
Right.
But it's like...
I'm gay. I want his physique. Go ahead.
But it's like, do we really want to see him in that role?
It's all about if they can. I'm sorry. It's all about if they can pull off being scary, and I think Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther. I'm not gonna say that's as scary as he get. It's just the fact that was anger. That wasn't like being like scary. That's a difference in there. So,
although you could kind of say Blackula is anger too, because in the first movie, well, actually in both movies, he was angry as fuck. Even though second movie, he was cold as ice. That man was cold as ice. He's like, you know what? I'm a vampire. I just got killed once. I don't give a fuck now.
True, true. I don't give two shits. I am finna sit here and take over the goddamn area, and I'm become human again. But if any of you motherfuckers touch what's her name, Lisa?
Yeah,
Parent real
Lisa.
character. If y'all touch Lisa, I'm fucking you up. He ain't say it like that, but that's what the fuck he said. I will fuck you up if you touch her. And they're like, okay. You gotta have somebody that can have that command. You know what I'm saying? That type of. He was angry, but he had like this fearsome presence about him that you did not want to cross him. And that's why I was like, homegirl, you is girl, you better chill out. I'm like, it's how do you get killed twice? Like once you become you get turned to a vampire, the second time you get killed by, you know, you got blessed with the afterlife, but you still fucking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real though. All right, so I want to kind of shift gears a little bit. So I want to kind of talk about, since it is Pride Month, and I kind of want to stick on to more of the topic of Pride. I feel like for like maybe a lot of people, actually, I'm gonna speak for myself. I want to say a lot of people, but I'm gonna speak for myself. For me, you know, I watch horror movies, you know, for the love of it. I don't pay attention to sexuality personally, but you know, to hear certain movies are queer, you know, it does kind of like spark a bit of interest for me, and I get to wondering like, how is this so? You know, until I started watching a lot more horror movies. You know, some movies that are obvious, you know, that have like super like straight up like it's an all gay cast. Then there's other ones where the message is kind of subtle. So for right now, I want to talk about like some of your best and some of your worst, and I'll give you some of my best and some of my worst horror movies. And yeah, we could pretty much we kind of discussed this before we got on the mic, but yeah, kind of like talk about those for a little bit. So let's start off with some of the best. I want to hear some of your best LGBTQ type movies that you have on your list.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Spiral. David I can't pronounce his last. It's David Kurt Harder's Spiral, I think. And I really thought that was a damn good movie. It gave you the intersectionality of being gay and black in a small town community that's mostly white, and it dealt with that in a way where it wasn't beating upside your head, but you could tell that there was something sinister afoot. And it was like it was a social piece, but it wasn't like trying to preach to you about the plight of gay people, but at the same time I guess what I'm trying to say is it did it without being
too
condescending and too preachy, because I think that's some of the problem with a lot of these movies that's coming out nowadays, that they have a good what's the word, I don't want to say an agenda, because I don't want to say anything else. Well, they have a good agenda, but it doesn't it's not executed well, if that makes any sense. I felt like
mainly the concept of it.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know, I could talk about a movie here, but I don't want people to bomb your timeline of mine. So I'm gonna move on. You got The Lost Boys, and
which is one of my favorite movies.
Okay. I love The Lost Boys. It was one of the first movies. I told you before that was one of the first movies that made me calm down with horror and stuff. But looking at it now with a queer lens, I can see where a lot of people correlate a lot of the queerness is. The director was gay, Joel Schumacher. So I didn't even look at Sam Emerson's fashion victim choice of how he's dressed up his room. He had a lot of queer icons on his room, on the wall of his room.
Really?
And yeah, because Reform School Girls is like for me, is a very queer film. And on top of that, he had like this very gay looking poster of Rob Lawrence on his wall, and it was just like, I don't know. It just he reads queer, and
Mhm.
then it's the whole concept of the Lost Boys themselves. You know, they are just beautiful. They're bad boys, and then on top of that, this whole the Peter Pan um complex is something I want to get deep into right now. But it's just this whole thing about youth and beauty, and and just being young forever. That's a whole
Mhm.
nother conversation to be had outside of
Yeah.
here. So there's that, and then you have like Dracula's daughter. When I was a teenager watching that movie, I was like, "This, she's a lesbian." And then when you get to college and you study stuff about like the HUAC code and like all this stuff about the stuff you can't have in movies back in the day, they had to check to make sure the movie didn't have any of this stuff. So they've started the whole queer coding stuff and everything. So she coded as queer, but they didn't go as far as like her acting completely on it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna probably end mine with Knives and Skin. You have Knife and Heart.
Mhm.
I have Knives and Skin, which is not really. It's. Are you familiar with? Wait, are you familiar? Of course, you're familiar with. Do you watch Twin Peaks? You watch Twin Peaks, right?
I have not watched Twin Peaks before.
Oh, but you're familiar with. But you are familiar with
I
David
know what it
Lynch's
is. I'm
movies.
familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. So imagine if David Lynch got a hold of Riverdale,
Okay, okay.
and that's pretty much Knives and Skins. It's directed by Jennifer Reeder, and a couple of the characters in the movie are queer, and it's just a surreal suburban murder mystery that's going on, and with these teenage characters, and it's very, very beautiful. It's just, y'all, if y'all have not seen it, go check it out. It might not be for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's just a very well put together movie. So
I'm gonna probably talk about a couple of mine. So same here. I got Spiral down.
okay,
Um, I really thought that was a really good film. Just like overall, like how they displayed like closeted homophobia, just like people who are just like they'll come to your face, say like, "Oh yeah, love is love," blah blah blah. But behind closed doors, they're like, "Nah, we need to fuck these motherfuckers up.
we
We don't
got
need our
take them
community to be
down.
like this."
Right, right.
The main character, I forget his name, but the
Malik.
Malik, there you go. The
Mm-hmm,
main Malik end up seeing like his boyfriend getting savagely beat down by people
mm-hmm,
who didn't like, them being together, because they were gay. And it was
mm-hmm.
just an all out, I felt like it was a well thought out film, just to kind of display that. And then on top of that, and it's so crazy when you think about it, they also um showed Islamophobia at the end
Right.
of it, which was like, yo, and it was done in a way that it was like you didn't think it could be seamlessly done together like that.
Right. It's
And it
like,
was it was just like it really displayed like America's fascination on what type of groups they like to hate on, you
mm-hmm,
know, because
mm-hmm,
they see them as a threat.
mm-hmm.
And it was done right because also I feel like the timeline too, because it was like Malik and his man, they were in that neighborhood during the time of the 90s. And we all know
Right,
during the time of the 90s, a lot of people wasn't open to hearing like celebrities being gay or just people being gay
right,
in general,
right.
you know?
And the AIDS virus was running rampant during the 80s and the early 90s, mid 90s, and stuff like that. And it wasn't until recently that they kind of got the PrEP and the drugs to combat or just to prolong the lives of HIV patients and stuff. So they was talking
Mm-hmm.
about how, yeah, make sure you don't drink after the girl's boyfriend from home was like, make sure you don't drink after them and stuff like that. It was just like, wow, because that's how
Yeah.
people were thinking back then. It was just, and people would like probably died because they were gay or because they probably had HIV or both. And you still have parents to this day who would deny that their child died because
Yeah.
they were gay bashed or because they contracted HIV and eventually AIDS and then they died from that. You have parents to this day who would deny their child was a victim of that disease back in the day. And victim being um hate of a hate crime, excuse me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another movie that I have down is ticked off trannies with knives. That's a really good film. And I kind of brought your attention to it because
Yeah.
it's a movie about also like, and I'm a slasher fan. Obviously, I'm a slasher fan,
Right.
and this movie, it's like a comedy slasher type way, and it's about, just transphobia, honestly, and just like how, some men, they feel like, oh, well, I thought I was talking to this girl, but this person is actually a man, but technically it's a trans woman,
Right.
and the actions that they take is just, violence, which was definitely something that has been like an issue,
Hmm.
going against the trans community. It's like a lot of them are afraid to get in relationships because they're like, yo, is this person gonna like kill me or harm me in some type of way because I'm this? And I thought this was a good movie for what it was. um Knife Plus Heart, that was a really good film. I really thought, I
Right.
always quote on this show, like, if you want to see a really good LGBTQ movie, that is a movie to really watch, especially for it being a slasher film on top of it. I really
Hmm.
thought it was a really good film. And the last one I want to leave off is Bliss. I love, if anybody follows me on Instagram, they know I'm always crushing on Gigi Soul Guerrero, but before her, it was Dora Madison. My God, Dora Madison was just like it for
What
me. And she
what has she
played.
been in?
She was in this Hulu film, All That We Destroyed, but she was also on Friday Night Lights.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I know you're talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, little like white girl with a little booty with the little curly hair. I was just like, oh my God. Y'all gotta excuse my
Oh,
thirst for a moment.
you too stupid. Oh, excuse it because I can be thirsty too. Go ahead.
But when she was in Bliss and she was doing her thing in there and she was doing the bisexual thing with like the two vampires in the movie, I was just like, oh my God, can I be in this party? Like, but
I've
yeah,
heard
that's
great things about that movie.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's a really good movie. Like, honestly, I look at it more as a movie about addiction more than just a movie about like bisexuality. It has the
Okay.
bisexuality um character in there, but it's not strictly like focusing on that. It's more focusing
Right.
on more of like being addicted and always trying to get to that same high from that first
Hmm.
high that you got.
Hmm.
And I really
It's
think
just
it's a really good film. So
yeah, it just seems like the representation. Like we get into an era where the entire narrative is not about the person's sexuality. It's just how they're
which
dealing
is
with the
good.
situation that they're in. Right.
Which is
Right.
good. And I like that. I don't want, like, for me, I mean, it's good to have like I'm not gonna diss a movie if it's like all black characters or all gay characters or all Asian characters, even though, Asian culture, it's crazy how we could praise like Asian horror movies, but people kind of like get offended if it's like an all black movie. I was like, that's a random thought
Hey,
to me.
well, no, you got a good point there because I thought about that before too. Like we was the Asian horror craze that happened in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. We was like
Yeah.
all about this shit. We don't want any remakes of that though. But goddamn, Lord forbid we have an all black movie with all black cast, and we talk about problems. You're just
Mhm.
trying to defy the community. Shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Right.
I mean, trying it.
All right. So since we talked about some of our best, let's talk about some of our worst, because I know you're waiting for this conversation.
Yes. Yes.
So, how about you lead off with? Actually, I'll lead off. So I'm gonna talk
Okay.
about two movies that I just thought were some of the worst, and it's not even because of the characters themselves. It's more so because of story. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. This is where we're gonna start. This is where we're gonna start, man. This is where we're gonna start. I have a problem with that movie. And I have a problem
Oh.
not because of Jesse himself. Jesse is fine. Jesse could be who he is. I just have a problem with like how they use Freddy in the movie. And it kind of always pissed me off because it was like, yes, Jesse was getting tortured by Freddy in his dreams. That was cool. But then it got to that one scene where like Freddy Krueger just all of a sudden came out, and then it just started becoming confusing. Like, okay, so do everybody see Jesse as Freddy, or do they see Freddy, or like what's the deal? And it always mind boggled me. I know like a lot of people hated that movie back in the 80s for the character being gay, but that's not the reason why I hate it. I hate it because it was just poorly written. Definitely poorly written.
Okay. On that tip, I would say, because I've talked about this with other people, I talked about it with you. I felt that they deviated from the entire mythology of Freddy Krueger. Because I'll be honest with you, there's gay people out there who do not like a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I mean, it's like it's a good queer. They're like, yeah, it represents queerness and stuff like that, but at the same time, that doesn't save it from being like a weak point in the franchise. So I'm not gonna beat you up too bad, but but no, seriously though, I see where you're coming from because, like I said, it deviated a bit because like, for instance, you brought up a good point when he came out of Jesse in Grady's room when he saw him in the mirror. So does that mean that anytime he walked across a mirror or something like that, was it Freddy in the mirror and was it just Jesse? But then he gets to Lisa's house, and first of all, you walk not far from, because I don't know if Grady was an Elm Street kid, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because Elm Street seemed like it was a pretty long ass street, but
like, how long is that street? I need a map. Someone give me a map, please.
Because between just a side note, between 2 and 3, Freddie was knocking off a lot of the Elm Street kids, and then we got down to the last group that was in Western Hills. But the fact that he, I would say Freddie'd out at Lisa's party, and everybody saw him as Freddie, you know what I'm saying? Because, but then again, we don't know if only Lisa saw him as Freddie or if everybody at the party saw him as Freddie or something like that. But I thought they saw him as Freddie, but at the same time, you never know, probably. But then I would say like this, they had to have seen him with Freddie, as Freddie, because everybody acted like nothing happened that Monday morning. Like they got the bus. It was like, okay, yeah, that was a wild party. Never mind that about 5 or 6 people got sliced up, though, but that party was wild. So but it was just like I would give you that it was a weak point in the franchise. They were trying to capitalize off the first movie, and they didn't really have time to sit there and think it through in terms of like the overall plot. And that was like a lot of sequels. I think the only one that came close to doing it outside of Elm Street was a Friday 13th, because I get there's a whole other conversation. But anyway, so yeah, I see what you're saying. But as a queer film, I feel like at the time that the movie was made, it was ahead of its time. Let's say it like that.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely
was ahead of its time.
It definitely was.
I give it that, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna say that, I'm just gonna be real with you, that I know some gay people who do not like that movie too. So it's okay. But it's a
Yeah.
fave of mine. So I'm like, look, Freddie could go to space. I'm that motherfucker that Freddie goes to space. Everybody be like, man, fuck this shit. And I might be like, yeah, fuck it, though, but just bring it to me. I'm here to, I want to see it. I want to see what Freddie does in space.
Hey, it's okay. I'm a Fred head too, man. So
Yeah,
I would want to see that shit too.
Yeah, I'm like Freddie's Dead is like really bad, but I
Oh,
would
it's
sit there
definitely really bad. But
but
that
I would
remake is
fight for
so
the
much
movie.
worse.
Worse, yes, exactly. It was
It's
just like,
so much
y'all,
worse.
it started off good, and I told friends that the Nightmare on Elm Street remake trailer was a damn better movie than the actual movie was.
Yeah.
The trailer was far more entertaining than the damn movie was.
All right, so the next movie, which will be the last one I'm gonna mention, because I feel like the other two that I have, because I have 4 movies on my list. Well, I'm gonna gloss over a bit. The second movie I want to mention is The Perfection for obvious reason, but the one that I want to dive into is Seed of Chucky, which is another one that I just, and it was so bad as far as the writing, and I get like what it was trying to do now, looking at it in adult lenses,
Right.
and understanding more about like, different genders and everything. But it was so bad with the writing.
Okay. I recently just did an episode about Seed of Chucky for a Pride episode of Kill the Dead. And we were talking about Devin on that show really loves this movie. So, and I'm not gonna lie, I told him on the show that when I first saw it, I was like, okay, at the end of Bride of Chucky, I'm like, did she just actually shoot out a kid? Like, how the hell did 2 dolls make a baby? And then the line of Bride of Chucky was like, she's like, did you have a rubber? And Chucky was like, baby, look at me, I'm all rubber.
And that was so funny.
That was like, wow. And he still popped a baby at her. But looking at the movie now, I can see what Don Mancini was trying to do. And the funny thing is, when that movie came out, I had no idea that he himself was gay.
I didn't either.
Yet,
I learned that recently.
Yeah. And it was just like, wow. But when you go back, you see Bride, then you see Seed, then you see Curse and Cult, and you see how he's peppering in a lot of LGBT elements in the films. And I think it's because he wrote all 7 of the movies except for the remake, but
yeah,
you can tell that, Seed of Chucky was like it's I don't know his family life, so it seemed like if by him coming out as gay, or I'm just from my viewpoint, it was like a movie that was saying that, it spoke to a lot of gay kids, because you always have the father who is like trying to say, oh, my son's a manly man and he's going to go hunt and he's going to go fish and he's going to do all this stuff and everything like that. And then you have the mother who is very supportive and, like, well, you can be whoever you want to be, baby, and all this stuff like that. So it echoed that. But it's also instances where the father's more along the lines of like, son, I don't care as long as you be happy. And the mom's like, no, I need my son to be a man. But it's always the stereotypical father, the toxic masculine father, and then the very helpful mom, or the very supportive mom and stuff like that. That's what I got from it for being queer. But I mean, I don't know. I saw what it was trying to do for the queer audience and stuff like that. But we talked about how, it was problematic and stuff like that, because who the hell would let Redman direct the damn movie first and foremost? There's that.
I know. that was part of like my one thing also about this movie that I was like, why is Redman in this movie? This movie is no.
Random. It was so random. And like, he's trying to make a movie about baby the Virgin Mary and all this. And I'm like, and then I found out that Quentin Tarantino was actually offered that role. So that's pretty much where that whole scenario came from. But I'm like, I can't see Tarantino in that movie though.
I can't either.
I mean, John Waters, yeah, but not Quentin Tarantino. And I actually enjoyed the John Waters bit, but it just seemed like it was gay overload because I ain't gonna say overload, but that sounded real bad. But it was just like it was very it was the queerest out of all the Chucky movies because and that's the last one that went to theaters. And
hmm
you know, because you had John Waters, who's a queer icon. You had Jennifer Tilly, who's a queer icon. They even mentioned the whole Bound movie, the movie Bound she was in, where she was a lesbian. And then you have Glenda as a trans character. And then, you know, it just, even the Britney Spears bit, you know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
very, very queer-esque. And it was the queerest the franchises went. And I think that's why it's getting a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's getting a lot of new recognition today from queer audiences and you know horror audiences alike, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
All right. Well, I want to hear what's on your list as far as like movies that you thought were bad for the LGBTQ community.
I might get a lot of flack for this, but I do not care because I have a lot of lesbian friends who are like, you know, they want to get their hands on directing the movie and they can sit there have a like a very explicit lesbian scene or something like that, and I'm like all for that if they are the ones behind the if they're the ones who's behind the lens directing the movie and whatnot. And I don't know who directed this damn movie, but
Yeah.
May I Sleep with Danger, the remake of May I Sleep with Danger that came on show not I mean Lifetime a few years ago. Now, if you're not familiar with the original movie, it was a made-for-TV movie. I think they aired on NBC, starring Tori Spelling, who was who got a relationship with this guy who was really abusing her, and
Okay.
her mom who was trying to help her out, you know, try to get her out the relationship and stuff. And the guy was a complete asshole. But the remake was from the idea of damn, his name just escaped me. Fuck. Um, he's the guy who he's in a lot of Seth Rogen comedies.
Oh, oh God. Not Michael
Nobody,
Sarah.
no, not him. James Franco. James Franco.
James Franco. Okay.
Okay, so well, this movie was actually directed by a woman. I just looked it up, so I might get a lot of flack for this though. But I hated this movie because it was so bad. The story came from James Franco,
Mhm.
and the remake of this movie is this girl meets a vampire who she brings home to mom, and the vampire
Yeah, yeah.
girl. Instead of of course, the vampires the vampires a girl as well, so it's a lesbian relationship movie about with lesbian vampires. But you can, even though it was written by Amber Coney and directed by Melanie Atkinhead, it was conceived by James Franco, who also produced it.
Yeah.
So I did not like this movie when I saw it because I thought it was gratuitous.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
looking it up now, I'm like maybe there. I just haven't heard a lot of people talk about it in like a lot of LGBT circles. So I don't want to say that I feel validated because it hasn't been talked about much though. But when I saw it, I was like, I don't know. It just seemed dumb.
Mhm.
And it was badly written. I'm sorry, Amber, if you listen to this. I loved you in Dead of Summer, and I'm glad that James Franco gave you the opportunity to write that movie though, but I did not care for it. I can't think of any other movie that was like LGBT that just really. And I'm pretty sure I'm looking at one, and not looking literally at one, but I'm pretty sure there's one that's in my mind. I cannot think of it right now, but because this is the one that always stuck with me as like this is straight up garbage. And but I mean, if there's any of my lesbian friends out there, if y'all seen this movie, please contact me. I don't care if you want to tell me, Mark, you're wrong, Mark, you're right. Just I want to hear y'all come. I'm just saying, if y'all listen to this, just let me know how y'all thought about the movie because I did not care for that movie. It just felt like a dude's hands was all on it, even though it was directed by a female. It was just like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll make sure like to avoid that movie at all costs because I have never.
I think you should watch it. I think you should watch the movie and come up with your own conclusions because you might like it. I didn't like it because I thought it was going to be like this, funny take on like a parody of the original movie, but it was trying to take itself seriously, and it fell flat on this damn face. In my personal opinion. Because I didn't like anybody in the movie. Not any of the vampire girls, not any of the main characters. I would say I kind of did like Tori Spelling's character though, but I felt like they didn't do her justice because it was just, I don't know. But anyway, because Tori Spelling now plays the mother. The only thing is Tori Spelling now plays the mother to the young girl who's in danger. So other than that, that's all I got for right now. I'm pretty sure there's another movie after that pissed me off, and I just like I don't want this in my collection. But yeah.
Yep. Well, with that being said, I want to thank you, Mark, for coming on to the show, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. I'm so glad to be part of the Team Doom Nation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And whenever you're available, man, you can come back on. We could talk about some shit.
Yeah, always, anytime, man, anytime. I'm ready and willing.
Yeah. So if you want people to follow your social medias, what are those social medias again?
The Anti-Critic on Twitter, Midnight Social Distortion, and Marco Estes on Instagram, and MS Distortion on Clubhouse. And you can follow my podcast, Midnight Social Distortion, available on Apple, Stitcher, Anchor, and Google Podcasts, and a few more.
All right. So can you hang out with us one more time for a little bit for the Slasher Corner and recommend some movies for the audience?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll be right back, you guys.
Now get my way, bitch.
We are now back, you guys, and we are here for the Slasher Corner. And right now, as you guys know, I always suggest a slasher movie of the week, but right now I'm gonna have my guests go ahead and suggest the movie. I know Doom is letting his guests choose a movie. I haven't done that in a while. Even producer Doom is in the back like, yeah, you finally let somebody choose a movie. Oh man. Ooh. But Mark, what you got for us this week, man?
I'm gonna keep it short. I'm gonna keep it in the show. Like I told you, you should check out Knives and Skins.
Knives and Skins,
because Knives and Skins, it's not a slasher per se, but it is a great movie if you're in the mood for something surreal. And it might run a little slow, but it's still a good movie. I think everybody should experience Knives and Skins. So there's that one, and I don't think I have anything else at the moment. If you haven't seen Demons, I always tell people to watch Demons. If you haven't seen Demons, then watch that. That's the one I always try to throw at people, is Demons.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, so I'll probably try and check that out myself.
Oh my God. Yeah, go watch Demons. That's right up your alley, bro. It's right there. Demons and Demons 2 are both on Shudder, so go ahead and knock them out right
Yep, yep. Hey, that's what I'm gonna do. Got the Shutter on deck, man. I love Shutter, man.
I love it too.
Yeah,
Bless it.
I can't wait till that VHS 94 movie come out.
Yes. Oh my God, because I didn't like the third one. I really didn't care
Oh
for it.
my God, Viral was so terrible. It was really terrible. I mean, like, granted, VHS 2 was tolerable, but VHS Viral was terrible.
Terrible. I was what you call it, offended a little bit. I was like, y'all came up with this? What y'all came up with? Like, how dare you?
Yeah. I'm just like, I get like what they were trying to do with the technology, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, you guys are working with technology. You guys have so much free range. And this is what you guys come up with? I'm insulted.
Insulted, like highly insulted. Like, how dare you? My palate needs to be fixed because of this shit. Like, I have to glass of wine. Like, the hell's wrong with y'all? Shit.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again, Mark, for coming on to the show, man. You know, again, I have to have you on here another time. I have to probably stop by your show too, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're more than welcome to come by.
Yep.
More than welcome.
Yep. And once again, this has been another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. I'd like to thank you, Mark, for coming on. I'd like to thank you, the audience, for like listening to us. You know, this is a little bit of a long one, but hey, you know, you guys are getting like some of the best ideas from two good content creators. You know, I'm not sitting here overhyping it. I'm not sitting out here like we the best, but you know, we just out here trying to function and vibe, man. You know, talk about horror for the love of it.
Right.
You know,
love of horror.
Yep.
Always. I'm just glad to be here.
Yep. I'm just glad to have like anybody come here, you know, that want to talk about horror with me, man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, it's hard to find another black person to talk horror. I mean, you can find it now online, but it's like, I'm trying to get you back over here now to try to talk horror, but they want to talk other stuff.
Yeah. All right. So if you guys want to follow me, once again, those social medias are Walter Doom on Instagram, Walter Doom 1 on Twitter, and Walter Doom on everything else that involves streaming. And yeah, this has been another episode. This is America. Don't let me catch you slipping now. This what the fuck was I about to say? Stay diabolical, people. Peace.
Peace.